So hi everyone, hi guys. How are you all doing today? I'm gonna.
Hi, teacher.
There.
Hi, teacher. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Okay, I don't know what's wrong here. Okay, guys, so please don't forget that your cameras need to be on. So before we start the class. Okay, thanks so much. So what we're going to be working on today, and actually this week, is the reading section. So we'll start with the reading today and we'll continue next class because we have one more class to do. Right? So let me just. All right. So the reading section, here it is. It's the first section you'll get in the test. It's over 30 total. I think I got a message. Okay. So let's first look at the structure of the reading section. In the reading section, what you will have to do is read some passages. You will read some academic passages, so they will be about academic topics, like it could be on the hard sciences, on the soft ones, like humanities or business, finance. Sometimes you have something about biology, evolution, history, biographies. You can have many different types of topics, but it will be academic no matter what. So you will read those passages and then you will be given a set of questions for each passage, and you just have to answer the questions, based on the reading. So that's what the reading is about. Now, about the structure of it, you will have either 3 or 4 passages. All right, so 3 or 4 of them. And each passage will have 10 questions each. Okay, that makes a total of 30 or 40 questions in the total reading section. Now you may be wondering, why am I saying 3 or 4 passages? Why am I not giving you like an exact number? So the thing is, the reading and listening are both kind of connected. So sometimes you get a longer reading section, sometimes you get a shorter one, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be compensated with the listening. So if you have 4 passages in the reading, then you will have a shorter listening version. But if you have the shorter reading, you have just 3 passages, then your listening will be longer. So don't worry too much about this. It's gonna be fair, I promise. And another thing, if you get 4 passages, one of them is not gonna be scored. So you will have an unscored passage, which means that they won't even look at one of your passages. But of course, you don't know, you cannot know which one that's gonna be, so you just gotta answer everything. But I need to tell you, so 3 or 4 passages and 10 questions each. Now about the time, they will give you 54 minutes in case you have 3, or 76 minutes in case you have 4, which means you should be answering or finishing a passage and a set of questions in 18 minutes. All right, guys? So let's just recap. In the reading, you get 3 or 4 passages, reading passages with 10 questions each. You get 54 or 76 minutes. Okay, so any questions about this, about the structure of the reading, how it works? Okay, so some things I gotta say, the reading will be there. It's not gonna go anywhere. So you will be able to actually answer the questions at the same time you read. Okay, so you don't have to read and take notes or anything. It'll be there when you're answering the questions. Now, some tips I can give you, some things you should know before we look at everything. The first thing is that there are different strategies that you can take. There are different strategies in which you could answer this section. Some people will say it's better to read everything first and then answer the questions. Some people will say it's better to look at the questions and try to answer them hand in hand. I cannot tell you which one is better because there's no such a thing, you know? It works differently for everyone. What I can tell you is practice. You will practice and you will see what works better for you. If you think you are a slow reader, you have a problem with time, you usually take too much reading the passages, you are constantly running out of time in the reading, which is something that happens to a lot of people, including me, I would say the best thing you can do is just read the questions first. Read one question, look for the answer. Read the next question, look for the answer. Read the next one, and so on. It's gonna go in order, so I think it works. But it depends on how you are and how you work better. In case you're a fast reader and you get everything, then you can do the opposite. You know, you read everything and then you answer the questions. So the only thing I can say is practice. We're gonna try and do both today so that you can take a look at how it works. Now, one thing that there's no other way around is that you don't have to skip any questions, okay? You cannot leave questions in blank, because if you do that, then you're just missing your chances, all right? Because there's no penalty for a wrong answer, which means that if you leave a question in blank, you're just gonna miss that 25% chance that you have of getting it right, okay? So you need to guess everything that you don't know. You take a guess and then you move on to the next one. In the reading, something that you can do is jump around. So you can start in question 1, you can go to question 5, you can move to the second passage. You can do whatever you want in the reading, but try not to do that. Try to always go in order. There's the first, and the second, third, fourth, because you're gonna lose the written if you're jumping around here and there, you know, and you're gonna waste time. You're gonna forget to answer some questions. So please don't jump around, go in order. If you don't know the answer to one question, don't spend 10 minutes there, because it's obviously something not so smart to do. You're running against time here. So if you are 1.5 minutes in a question, you don't come up with the answer, take a guess, move on. And one thing you can do is take notes. Okay, so you can have a piece of paper with you. So the ones that you have guessed, let's say that you're in question 7 of the first passage and you have no idea what the answer is. So you're taking too much there. So you're just gonna circle that one. You're gonna say, okay, question 7, passage 1. And at the end of the whole reading section, if you have extra time, you can go back and try to find the answer. But if not, then you're just gonna leave it there, okay? Just take a guess and move on. Usually the final questions are the hardest one. So hurry up at the beginning, leave some time for the end. Try to finish a passage in less than 18 minutes so that you're not running. And only review your answers at the end of the whole reading section. So not at the end of each passage, not at the end of 10 questions or 5 questions. You don't have time to do that, okay? You can only review your answers at the end of the whole reading section, after the 4 or 3 passages are done. Okay, guys, so those are some things I can say. I don't know if you have any questions about this or about the way it works.
Excuse me.
Yes?
In the reading section, is it possible to see the passages and the same time like questions?
Yes, it is. So you won't have to take notes or anything. You can read and answer at the same time.
Okay.
Any other question? Okay, guys. So now, okay, what we're gonna be doing now is we're gonna take a look at the types of questions that you can get, that you can face, that you can find in this reading section. And that's the best thing we can do for the reading. So I could also tell you a bit about the organizational types of lectures, of reading passages, but I think we can do that next class. Right now, let's try to focus on the types of questions because there's a lot that we need to cover. So in this section, you will find 10 different types of questions, okay? You have vocabulary questions, detail, accept, and so on. Now, we're gonna cover them all, and today we're gonna start by the most important ones, which are vocabulary and detail questions. And well, summary questions are also important. So I'll tell you why now. So as you can see here, this table shows the frequency of questions. So basically, how many of them you have or you could have. Like, for example, vocabulary questions are the most common ones. So you can have from 2 to 5 per passage. So that's really a lot, out of 10 questions. The detailed questions are also quite common. And even though you only get one of these summary questions at the end, it's worth a bit more. So I think this question here, the last one, is worth like 2 of these other questions. Okay, so that's why I'm saying those are the most important ones. And today we'll try to cover 2 or 3 of the most important ones, and then we can, hurry up with the other ones. All right. So any questions before we do that? Okay. So one more thing, in order to do that, we're gonna be taking a look at some examples, and we're gonna be using this reading set here that we have, that it's offered by the official ETS website. So it should be pretty similar to what you guys will find in the actual test. It's something that's offered officially by the ETS. So it should be something that's close to what you guys will find, in the reading section, so that we have an idea of how it works. Okay, guys. Now, the first type of question we'll see these vocabulary questions, which are, I would say, personally my favorite, and I'll tell you why. So first thing, that you have a lot of them in your reading section, and I would say that I really like them because they don't take up that much time. So they are quite quick if you know the word, and even if you don't know the word and you gotta guess by context, they're not gonna take up like more than 1 minute, I would say. So that's why I like them. What they're asking for in this type of question is the synonym of a word, but that word needs to match both in context and in meaning. So it's not just enough to know the word, you also gotta make it match with the context of the word. Okay, so we're gonna see how that is. And okay. So I'm getting two messages from Jorge and Mariana. It's okay if you guys cannot turn it on today, that's fine. But please, the rest of you need to make sure that your cameras are on, right? I think Osman, Carla, Maria Fernanda, Micaela, you guys try to have them on. Okay, guys. So let's take a look at an example of a vocabulary question. So we're gonna be using, as I was saying, this set here. And right now we're gonna be doing the second strategy, okay? We're not gonna read everything in order not to waste that much time. We're gonna read only the things that we need for each question, so you'll see. But even if you don't read, here's the first tip I'm gonna give you today. Even if you don't read the entire passage, make sure that you read the instructions and that you read the title, okay? You can kind of scan it very quickly. So for example, here we have the rise of Teotihuacan. That's what this passage will be about. What do you guys imagine? What can you say? What do you think this will be about? The rise of Teotihuacan. What can you picture?
About history, maybe.
History, okay. What about history?
About a culture, maybe some culture.
About the development of that.
Okay, nice. The development, I like the word of his, yeah, okay. Anything else? Okay, so yes, you guys are correct. I think it's probably gonna be about that. You know, it's obviously about history, and it is about the development or the rise of a culture, of a city, something around those lines. Okay, guys. So we'll be answering question 2 of this set. So let's take a look. Okay, guys. So will anybody please read this question for us? Can anyone read the question in the options?
I can.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
The word ingenuity in paragraph 2 is closest meaning to A, ambition, B, sincerity, C, faith, and D, cleverness.
Okay, thanks so much, Mikaya. So now the first thing that you guys do when you find one of these questions, these vocabulary questions, is think about the meaning of the word. So the first thing you do is you're just gonna use your knowledge, what you do know. Now I'm gonna ask you this. Do you guys know the meaning of ingenuity? Can you think of a synonym within these 4 options? What are your guesses? Which ones would you go for? Is there anyone that knows what this means? Which one is it gonna be? Ambition, sincerity, faith, or cleverness? What do you think?
Cleverness.
Okay, somebody says cleverness. Anybody else? Any other ideas?
Faith.
Faith, okay. All right, so anybody will go for another one? Okay, so I think, Christian, it was you, right? You said cleverness.
Yes.
Okay, so are you 100% sure that you know what ingenuity means and that it's cleverness? Or how sure are you?
60%.
Okay. Okay, well, that's a good guess. Okay, and what about whoever said faith? Are you sure? Who was that? Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is if at the first try you're almost 100% sure, like 90%, and all of the other ones don't make that much sense, and you know this word, like you've used it before, you've seen it before, you know what it means, then that's it. You know, you choose cleverness, you choose faith, and you move on. You don't have to even look at the paragraph. Now, if you're not 100% sure, or well, at least like 95% sure, then you need to read and try to look at context, okay? So the first thing we do was meaning, try to find out what the meaning is. And now we're gonna be looking at context because that's gonna help in case you're not so sure about what the word is. Okay, so now we're gonna be looking at the paragraph that we are referring to, paragraph 2. So this is paragraph 2. Now about the paragraphs. To be honest, I don't think that for all of the questions, you need to read the entire paragraph. Not for all of them, okay? For some you will. In this one particularly, I wouldn't say you do, but we're gonna try and read it all. One thing that I do, and that has worked for me at least most of the time, is I read the first sentence or the first and second sentences of all the paragraphs. Okay, so believe me, I think that all of the paragraphs work in the same way. So at the beginning of the paragraph, the first sentence, you will have like a short introduction of the paragraph. You know, it's like a short intro to that paragraph. And it explains the main idea of the paragraph. And then everything else that comes later is just supporting that idea or supporting that claim or whatever it is that you have there. So if you read the first paragraph, if you read the first line of the paragraph, you should be able to know what at least what it will be about, okay? Even if you don't have like a complete idea of what it is about, you should know what it could be about, okay? But in this case, we're gonna try and read everything. So I don't know if anybody would like to read this paragraph here. Can anyone do it? Maybe.
I can try.
Okay, thanks.
The
Can
whole
I-
paragraph.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so how did this tremendous development take place, and why did it happen in the Teotihuacan Valley? Among the main factors are the Teotihuacan's geographic location on a natural trade route to the south and east of the Valley of Mexico. The Obsidian One resources in the Teotihuacan Valley itself and the valley's potential for extensive irrigation. The exact role of the other factors is much more difficult to pinpoint. For instance, Teotihuacan's religious significance as a shrine, the historical situation in and around the Valley of Mexico toward the end of the first millennium before Christ, the ingenuity and forcing us of the Teotihuacan's elite, and finally the impact of natural disasters such as volcanic eruptions of the late first millennium before Christ.
Okay. All right, Maria Jose, so thank you so much for reading it. Okay, now let's talk about this. So what you have to do is you first identify the word. We have it here, is ingenuity. And then you need to think about how that word relates to the whole, to what the paragraph is about. So can you guys tell me what this paragraph was about? What was this about? What do you guys think this was about? Paragraph. Maybe, I don't know. Carla, what do you think? What's your take?
The development of Teotihuacan.
Perfect. Yeah, there you go. The development of this city and pretty much why it happened, right? So what were the factors that influenced the development of the city? And as you can see, that's explained in the first sentence. So how did this happen? How did this development happen? And why did it happen in Teotihuacan? And we have an explanation on what those factors are. So what are the factors that influence that development? We have a lot of things like Teotihuacan's geographic location, the obsidian resources, the potential for extensive irrigation, and a lot of other things, okay? So, and one of those things, one of the factors that influenced Teotihuacan's development was the ingenuity and foresightness of Teotihuacan's elite. So now I want you guys to think about that. So what would you say would be a good factor? And what, among these options, what do you think could be a good factor and something that matches the other ones that we have, like geographic location, obsidian resources, extensive irrigation? So what do you think? Would it be the sincerity and foresightness of Teotihuacan's elite, the faith of the elite, the ambition of the elite, the cleverness of the elite? What would make more sense? In a guess. Is there any options that you could consider eliminating? Any options that make more sense? What do you think?
I will eliminate the sincerity.
Okay, sincerity, yeah.
And also probably faith.
Okay, I like that. So yes, it's not that it's, that being sincere and faithful is not going to take you anywhere, but in this context of everything that we're seeing, I think that ambition and cleverness make a lot of more sense, right? Because it's something a bit stronger to influence the development of the city. Now, there's one more thing that we can see, foresightness, right? As you can see in this list of things, ingenuity and foresightness go together. the ingenuity and foresightness of Teotihuacan's elite. So they must be similar, you know, to one another. They surely have something to do with each other. So I want to ask you guys, do you know what foresightness is? Anybody knows? Foresightness? Have you heard that word before?
Previsión.
I'm sorry? Come again? I'm sorry. I didn't catch that. What was? Was it you, Ruben? You were saying something?
Like prevision?
Prevision. Okay, yes, it does have to do with that. Okay, so like, yeah, I know what you mean. So can you explain a bit more? How would you explain that? Okay, so yeah, you know, one thing you can do in case you don't know this word, for example, it's not a simple word. I think this is like, I don't know if I'm correct about this, but I think it will be called like a compound word because it's like, it includes different parts of the word. So for example, you can break it down if that's what I mean. So ness, for example, you know that doesn't really add anything to the word, right? Any meaning. It just means that it's a noun. Like cleverness comes from clever, or laziness comes from lazy. So you know that ness is just, you know, not adding anything there. Now foresightness. So you can think of the word side, for example. Do you know what side is? Anybody? Side basically. Yes, exactly. Thank you. It's one of the senses, right? It's vista in Spanish, or the ability to see, you know, vision basically. And for, can you guys think of something related to for? Can you associate that prefix to something?
See the future.
Okay, yeah.
Vision of the future.
Yes. Okay, yes, exactly. It's I think it's related to the future. So something that's behind, you know? So something, that's why you have these words like, for example, forecast, you know, the weather forecast. And that's like a prediction of the weather. Okay, or you have words like foreshadowing. I don't know if you know this word. But it's a word that's used in literature when you like know something that's going to happen in the future, foreshadowing, forecast. So perfect, you guys. Now foresightness basically means the ability to predict what's going to happen, like the ability to kind of take a look at the future, see what's going to happen, and as somebody said, you know, take care of it, like be careful, or like take your provisions about the future. Okay, so that's foresightness. It's the ability to see, to predict what will happen and do something about it. Okay, so the foresightness of Teotihuacan's elite. Now that you know that, what do you guys think? Foresightness. Would it be ambition or cleverness? Which one, I don't know, matches this foresightness the most? The ambition and foresightness, or the cleverness?
Cleverness.
Cleverness, I think.
Perfect. Yeah, you guys. Awesome. So yes, the answer was cleverness. D. Ambition could have been, but I think, well, if we look at this word ingenuity, it means like, it's like it has to do with being smart, with being creative, with being able to solve problems. You know, its translation would be, what's this word? Ingenio, right? It's not ingenuidad. If you think like that, if you're like, okay, I think ingenuity, you know, ire means idad, so ingenuity, ingenuidad. So if you do that reasoning, you're more likely gonna choose this one, sincerity, right? But that's why you don't have to choose something unless you're 100% sure that you know what it means. You're not just associating the word to something that you think you know in Spanish or any other language. So careful with that. Sometimes they do this on purpose So make sure that you look first at meaning. If you know the meaning of the word, you go ahead and choose it. If you don't, then take a look at context, try to figure it out. Okay, guys? So, any questions?
Yeah, ingenuity and foresightedness is the same like cleverness. Those are synonyms.
No, not exactly. They're not synonyms, but they are related.
Okay.
So yes, they don't mean to say cleverness means like it has to do with wisdom, you know, with this being smart, intelligence. Foresightedness, it has to do with also with wisdom, but it's more like knowing what's going to happen and taking care of it. And ingenuity, I think it's more related to creativity. So they are around the same lines, you know, they are similar, but they're not the same. That's why you don't really have a synonym. It's closest in meaning, right? So you're not exactly looking for a synonym. So just the closest one. Okay, guys. Any other question? Okay, guys. So now taking a look at the next one we're gonna see is the detailed questions or factual questions. Now, in this one, what they're asking for is they're asking for a very detailed piece of information. Okay, so you're gonna be asked to find something. And the good thing about this is that you don't have to think that much. Everything is gonna be there. So it's something that's directly stated in the passage, in a portion of the passage, okay? So you don't even have to summarize anything. So it's a high frequency question. That's why it's important. You can have from 2 to 4 per passage. And everything, I think, comes down to finding keywords, paraphrasing, and narrowing down your information, okay? So I'll tell you what that means in a bit. Now let's take a look at this example here. Well, not that one. Okay, this one here. So we're gonna be answering question 5 of this set here. And let's see, well, not that one, sorry, question 5. So I think that's about all. So, okay, guys. Can anyone please read the question and the options?
Yes, teacher. I can.
Okay, thanks, Carla.
Okay, 5. Which of the following allow Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge over its neighbors? A. A well-exploited and readily available commodity. B. The presence of a highly stable elite class. C. Knowledge derived directly from the Olmecs about the art of tool making. D. Scarce natural resources in nearby areas such as those located in what are now the Guatemalan and Mexican highlands.
Okay, thanks so much, Carla. Okay, guys. So something I gotta say about this one, as you can see, it's something very direct. You know, they're asking, so what or which of the following or what allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge over its neighbors? And this is even quoted, okay? It's not always gonna be quoted, but I'll tell you what now. So it's something very detailed, okay? That's what they're called like factual or detailed questions. I think, okay, I'll tell you this later. Let's try and read this. So just for these ones, we're gonna read the entire paragraph as well, but you'll see that it's not really necessary to do that. But let's read so that you have an idea. So I don't know if maybe maybe Mariana, do you think you can read it?
Yeah, teacher, all the paragraph.
Yes, or I'm sorry, I'm just remembering that you sent me a message, right? I think maybe we can have another one.
Yeah, teacher,
I
sorry.
can do it, teacher.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead. Thanks. Don't worry, Marina.
Okay.
Thanks.
It seems likely like Tiwanakan's natural resources, along with the city's ability to recognize their potential, gave the city a competitive edge over its neighborhoods. The valley, like many other places in Mexican and Guatemalan highlands, was rich in obsidian. The hard volcanic stone was a resource that had been in a great demand for many years, at least since the rise of the Olmecs, people who flourished between uh, between 1,200 and 400 BC, and it apparently had a secure market. Moreover, recent research on obsidian tools found at Olmec sites has shown that some of the obsidian obtained by the Olmecs originate near Tiwanakan. Teotihuacan obsidian must have been recognized as a valued commodity for many centuries before the great city arose.
Hey, thank you so much for now. So think about it, guys. Think about it for a while. Take a second to think, and let me know if you, I don't know, if you would go for one of these options or which one it would be. All right, guys. So any ideas on which option it could be?
Maybe it's the last option D.
D. Okay. Anyone else?
Maybe A.
Maybe A. All right.
I will be with A2.
B2. Okay, we have two A's. Okay. Okay, guys. So now the first thing you have to do here, and this is important for you to remember because you got a lot of detailed questions. So the first thing you gotta do is look for your keywords. Okay, now keywords are gonna be all those words that are both in the, or all those, not necessarily words because you could have synonyms, but basically what you have in the reading and what you're being asked for. So in the question and in the reading. Now, in this case, we have a very specific quote, right? It's something that's been extracted from the paragraph. A competitive edge over its neighbors, although we have more keywords. So it could be something different as well. It could be something like an advantage over its, I don't know, over its competitors or an advantage over the other cities, okay? So it doesn't necessarily have to be something exactly the same like a quote, but you need to try to identify what you're being asked about. So basically try to find where the answer could be. So here we know that our keywords are here, right? A competitive edge over its neighbors. Now, there are more keywords if you think about it, because in the question we have something like, which of the following allow Teotihuacan to have? Now, what I'm gonna ask you is, do you think that allowing Teotihuacan to have, it's the same as saying giving Teotihuacan a competitive edge? Is it close enough? What gave the city a competitive edge over its neighbors, or what allowed the city to have a competitive edge over its neighbors? Can we go with that? Yeah, right. I think
Yes.
okay. So yes, it's close enough. Giving the city a competitive edge or allowing the city to have a competitive edge is kind of the same. Now, if once you have that, once you look at where your keywords are, then I guarantee that the answer is going to be very close to that. The biggest mistake I would say that people do here in these detailed questions is think of this as a summary. Okay, so what they're going to do is they're going to try and summarize the whole thing, the whole paragraph, and they're going to try to come up with different ideas from each part of the paragraph and then look for the answer. But that's not really what you're being asked to do. Here you have something that's super direct. What allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge? And here we have something, again, as direct. What gave the city, or this gave the city a competitive edge? So you just need to match them both. Just for that, you know, since we have identified those keywords, we know where the answer is. It's the first line, isn't it? Because it says, it seems likely that Teotihuacan's natural resources, along with the city elite's ability to recognize their potential, gave the city a competitive edge. So what gave the city a competitive edge? We have two things: Teotihuacan's natural resources and the city elite's ability to recognize their potential. So that's it. That's what gave the city a competitive edge. Now, you don't have to read anything but that, okay? So you need to forget about everything that comes next, because this is not a summary question, this is a detailed question. So I guarantee it won't be anything that's mentioned later. So just by knowing that, I can already eliminate option C and D, wouldn't you say? Because it's talking about the Olmecs, tool making, it's talking about Guatemalan Mexican highlands. And even though it might seem like it's the same, natural resources, it's not just, you know, it's including something that we don't have in our answer. Our answer is the first line, natural resources and the city elite's ability to recognize, okay? So we can eliminate C and D. Do you guys agree with me on that? Can we do that? Okay. Now the next
Excuse
thing.
me, what the correct answer?
I'm not, well, you want to know which one it is? It's A, the first one. So you guys were right. Let's try to look at why. So the next thing you guys need to do once you know where the answer is and what it is, natural resources, the city elite's ability, is try to look for synonyms, okay? So you narrow your information and then you look for synonyms, or you try to paraphrase that. So you need to find an option that it's saying the same, but in different words, because it's not gonna be, you know, so easy as something like option A, Teotihuacan's natural resources along with the city elite. It's usually not gonna be that easy. So they're gonna try and make it difficult for you by using synonyms and everything else, but it's the same. Now, can anyone tell me why B is not the answer? Why it couldn't be?
I think that it's not the answer since we have like two reasons: natural resources and the elite's ability, and this only points out the elite.
Okay, perfect, nice response. Yes, exactly. So this is talking about two elements, their natural resources and the city elites. And B is just talking about one thing, the elite class. So it's not B, it's A, right? Now, if you want to go farther and understand why, just try to think of what this means, right? So what would you guys say a readily available commodity means? What does that mean? Readily available commodity. Any thoughts? Well, commodity is for sure not comodidad, right? Commodity means basically resources. So commodity is the wealth. Okay, I'm gonna write that downward. The wealth or the goods that you possess, the things that you own, basically your property. Okay, so a readily available commodity just means natural resources, okay? Because readily available means that it was already there for you to use or for Teotihuacan to use from the moment the city was established. So it was readily available, it was natural, they didn't create it, they didn't product it, it was something that came with their I don't know, with their land, I guess. So readily available commodity just means natural resources. And the city ability to recognize their potential means that they exploit them well, right? So they not only had the resources, but they had the ability to recognize them and exploit them. Okay, so that's why A is the answer. Okay, so again, what I could say, first, remember that this is not a summary question. Your answer is probably going to be in just one fraction, one portion of the paragraph. Second, find your keywords. Third, just paraphrase, okay, and look for synonyms. It's not going to be as easy as finding the exact same words, okay? So any questions about this one? Okay, guys. So those were the two most important questions. That's why we took longer there. Okay, vocabulary and detail. Let's look at something short now so that we don't waste time next class on that. So the easiest question that you will find is this one, reference questions. Okay, these ones here, they're not that common. You can find one per passage, or sometimes you have none, so you don't have any of these ones. And basically what they're asking for is, basically they give you a noun and a pronoun. Okay, so you just have to know what that means. Anybody knows what a noun is, or nouns, what they are?
The subject.
Yes, okay, perfect. It's usually the subject of a sentence, and it's basically like the name of something, right? It could be the name of a person, of a city, of a place, a group of people, an animal, of a thing, an object, whatever you want to be. So it's just that. And a pronoun, anybody knows what that is? That's just a word that replaces the noun, right? So it's something, a replacement for the noun. So for example, I can have something like Valencia is such a beautiful city. Okay, and then in order not to repeat Valencia anymore, I can say, I don't know, it has this blah, blah, blah amount of population density, or whatever. Okay, so this it here is that the pronoun, because it's replacing Valencia. What they're gonna do is they're gonna ask, okay, so what does it refer to? And everything you gotta say is Valencia. Okay, so I think this is the easiest one that you can get. Obviously, they're gonna try to make you look a bit harder. They could use other indefinite pronouns like this city and then what this refers to, or you can have a longer subject, something like Valencia, a city located in this and this and that. So they may try to look for things to make it look harder, but it's not going to be anything but this. All right, so in this set of material that we have here, I didn't find a reference question. Remember that sometimes you don't have one. So we're going to use this one, and we're not going to read the entire thing. The only thing you need to do here is read the question, find the word, so those, and just read the sentence where the word is, okay? So who can read the question?
I can.
Me.
Okay.
The word those in paragraph 2 refers to A, gene pool, B, survival, C, natural selection, D, traits and characteristics.
Okay, thanks. So now we'll read the sentence where it is, which is here and here. So I'll read it. It is, over time, beneficial traits and characteristics that promote survival will be kept in the gene pool, while those that harm survival will be selected against. So what do you guys think? What does those refer to?
The gene pool.
You sure?
Traits and characteristics.
Okay.
I will eliminate probably Jumble and Survival, since it will be so repetitive, like keeping the Jumble while Jumble that harm or survival. That's why this is my my thinking. I don't know if it's correct.
Okay, I like that reasoning. But which one will it be then?
I would choose natural selection.
Okay, but natural selection is not even in the sentence, right?
I think
I'll
the
say
last
D.
option, because those is like plural, and in the last option is traits, plural, and characteristics, plural too, maybe.
Okay, yeah, that's true. So yes, you know, speaking grammarly, so yes, that it makes much more sense to have traits and characteristics. Okay, so yes, you could think like that. Now, the thing sorry?
Sorry, teacher.
Go on.
Yes, I say D
Okay.
because yes, I see that in the sentences traits and characteristic, and is in the sentence says that these traits and characteristics could promote survival or not.
Okay, yes, you're completely right. Perfect. So yeah, it is the traits and characteristics. I honestly hadn't thought of the plural thing, but now that you guys have brought it up, it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, but everything you need to know is just think of of what this is about. You know what the subject of this sentence is. Of course, you may have different things like over time. It's a complement. You know, it's not really there. Beneficial is just an adjective. But the main thing, the thing that we're talking about here is traits and characteristics. And we have beneficial traits and characteristics. So the ones that promote survival, as Carla was saying, the beneficial ones, what will happen to them? They will be kept. On the other hand, or while those, but what those? The beneficial traits, the traits and characteristics that harm survival. So the harmful traits and characteristics, okay? So traits and characteristics is the subject of the sentence, is the thing that we're talking about, you know? So what will be kept in the gen pool? Traits and characteristics. What will be selected against? The same thing, you know, those that harm. So I don't know if it's making sense, but just think of what the subject is, what the thing that we're talking about is. So the beneficial traits and characteristics will be kept, and those that harm or that harmful traits and characteristics will be eliminated or selected against. Okay? And yes, again, it's plural, so those. But try to think of the subject of the sentence, what the main thing is. Okay? So is it okay? Does it make sense? This shouldn't take you that much time, but it is practice as well. Okay, guys. So next class, we'll continue with the other types of questions. Is everything okay? Is everything clear? Do you have any questions before we go? Okay, guys. So thanks so much for joining today. Before you go, please don't forget the daily survey, which should be there right now.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care, you
Thanks for
guys.
the class, teacher. Bye.
Teacher.
Bye,
Thank
teacher.
you.
My teacher.
Hi, teacher. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Take care, you.
Teacher.
Goodbye.
Teacher, do you have 1 minute, please?
Yes, sure.
Yesterday I didn't enter because I was so busy at that time. Do you have a website to share these videos?
Yes, everything's gonna be on the YouTube channel. So I think today we're gonna be uploading that the link to the group description of the WhatsApp group that we have. So it'll be there.
Okay. Thanks, teacher. Bye. Take care.
Bye bye. Take care.